Hey guys, Jason Creel, and some weeds in your lawn are nasty. One of them is the wild onions and wild garlic. I'm going to group those together, and that's what we're going to talk about today, how to get rid of wild onions and wild garlic in your lawn. Stay tuned. I don't know about you, but in my area, as soon as the weather starts turning cool in the fall, one of the things that starts happening to the lawns is the wild onions and wild garlic start popping up. I don't like wild onions or wild garlic. They're difficult to get rid of, but not impossible to get rid of. So I'm going to talk to you today, show you what wild onions and wild garlic look like, tell you the difference between the two, how you can tell them apart, and we're going to also talk about some control options. Stay tuned. I'm going to go on a little hunt, see if I can find some wild onions or wild garlic. Of course, that's not hard to do. I know where they live. Aha! Found some. Okay, most people that I run into just simply call these wild onions. Most of the time, the ones that I see are actually wild garlic, though you do see both. Let me show you how to tell the difference. If you can actually break off the leaf of one of these guys, it's going to be hard to see on here, but actually the leaf on wild garlic is hollow and the leaf on wild onions is solid. Again, you may not can see it on the video. This actually has a hollow leaf. This is wild garlic. I do think too sometimes the wild onions, I'm not sure about this, but I think they have actually less leaves and might be slightly larger, where the wild garlic has a lot of leaves and maybe a little smaller bulb, but I'm not 100% sure on that. But just break off the leaf, see if it's hollow or solid. What I've noticed is that when you read the label on different herbicides, a lot of them will have wild onions and wild garlic on the label, meaning that, you know, they have some level of control, or at least will suppress wild onions and wild garlics. But while some of these products will at least give you some discoloration, maybe cause some slight wilting in the leaves of wild onions and wild garlics, I found that most of them don't actually prevent it from coming back the next year. Now, the way it's been explained to me is, you know, when you think about wild onion and wild garlic, when you pull them up, and sometimes, you know, I do tell people this, if the end of the day, if it's wet, on a wet day and you got 2 clumps of onions in your yard, just go out there and pull them up and be done with it. Don't try to, you know, figure out what's the best herbicide to get rid of this in my lawn. But sometimes I've had yards that I'm taking care of and they'll have 150 clumps of wild onions and wild garlic in their lawn. You know, it's not an easy job to go out there and pull them up, and sometimes it's difficult to pull them up. They break off if the ground's not wet. So there's some challenges to it. So I'm trying to think of what's a chemical option to get rid of the wild onions and wild garlic, or at least reduce the amount. Well, like I said, there's a lot of products that'll have it on the label and they'll give you some results. But what I've found is it's just a slight discoloration, and when the weather gets hot, they go away. But you know what? The next year, there they are again. So let me show you products that I'm using that I believe actually reduce the number of wild onions and wild garlic year over year. And I say reduce because I don't think this is like you're going to spray it on there and the next year you're going to have none. But I have personally seen this in some of the yards that I take care of, where a lawn had, like I said, probably over 100 clumps of wild onions and wild garlic, and the very next year it was greatly reduced. Not totally eliminated, but greatly reduced the amount that came back. So let's talk about those options. All right, let me show you a couple products that I've had success with on wild onions and wild garlic. All right, you can see here MSM Turf, and I'm gonna put the bottle down and just talk about it, but MSM Turf is a product that, to my knowledge and the way I've been taught, is kind of your go-to product for getting rid of wild onions and wild garlic. Now, here's the tricky thing about it. When you might spray some of these other products that have wild onions and wild garlic on the label, you're gonna see something happen. Chances are, when you spray MSM Turf on wild onions and wild garlic, you're not gonna really see anything happen. So let's say that they pop up in November, okay, and you're done cutting grass, and you say, well, I'm gonna spray the wild onions and wild garlic, and there's different rates on there, but let's say you're gonna use a 1/2 ounce per acre, and I'm gonna spray the wild onions and wild garlic. Well, you're not cutting the grass, and the onions may still be there for the next 3 months, and you might not see a single thing happen. They look almost identical to when you sprayed them. Now what's gonna happen? Normally those onions are gonna be around, at least in my area, once the grass starts growing and people start mowing the lawn in March or April, the onions are still there. And when you cut them, they come back, you cut them, you come back. Well, chances are, if you sprayed them with the MSM turf, once you mow them that first time, they're not gonna come back. What you're hoping is that product is actually killing the bulb that's underground, and so that next year, you're hoping that not only when you mow it, it won't come back, you're hoping that it won't come back at all the following year. And that does happen. I like to say it's not a perfect solution, but I've seen great reductions in the amount of bulbs that came back the following year. And that's part of the reason that these weeds are so hard to kill, is because they have that bulb that stores a lot of energy underground. Another challenging thing about it is they have that waxy coating on it. So it's very important to use a surfactant to help the herbicide stick to the plant. So let's talk about one other product, and this is a product I've talked about before. I use it a lot, but it's called Blindside. Now Blindside and MSM Turf both have metsulfuron in them, okay? So the metsulfuron is the product that, to my understanding, is going to eliminate the wild onions and wild garlic. Now the difference is the Blindside also has sulfitrazone in it. So what does that do? Well, you know how I said when you spray the MSM turf, you're not gonna see anything happen. Most likely, it's just gonna look the same for months. Now maybe it's gonna stop growing as fast and that sort of thing. Well, the Blindside has the sulfitrazone in there, and it's actually gonna make something happen. You're gonna most likely see some wilting and some yellowing of the leaves on the onions and garlic. Now, the debate is, and this is something I don't quite know the answer to, you need the wild onions and wild garlic to take in the metsulfuron to hopefully kill the plant and keep it from coming back the next year. Now, with the sulfitrazone causing some wilting and yellowing, is that keeping it from taking in the full effect of the metsulfuron? I don't know the answer to that 100%, but I'll say this. If you don't care about what it looks like this year, you're just trying to make as many not come back next year, then to me, you might as well just use the MSM turf and understand the onion's gonna be there this year. Spray them in November, December, let it sit on there for a couple months. When you mow the grass, they shouldn't come back. Hopefully the following year will be a lot less. If you want to see something happen, or you have a customer that you need, thinks, okay, he wants to see something, turn yellow and start to wilt, well then spray it with a Blindside. Again, you're still getting the effect of the metsulfuron and at the same time getting some wilting action. Now Blindside is more expensive than the metsulfuron, but you can use it for a lot of different weeds in the summertime. I use Blindside a lot. So if you know of a product or a combination of products that you've had success with in treating wild onions and wild garlic, I would like to know it. And if you want to share that in the comment section, that would probably be helpful. If you're helpless on wild onions and wild garlic, then maybe this video can help you. I do know, I don't think glyphosate works too good. I've tried glyphosate and a dormant Bermuda on wild onions, wild garlic, and you really don't see much happen at all. So to me, these are your best options, but love to hear from you guys. Check out the suggested videos popping up, and if you hadn't done so, subscribe to the channel and click the notification bell beside the subscribe button so that you can be notified when I put out new content. Thanks a lot.